All right, welcome. Right on time, 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Is it Central Time is it Standard Time or Daylight Savings Time? I don't even know. I get it.
I think it's standard now. I think daylight's finished, right? Yeah, I think yeah.
Standard
Yes,
time.
yes, yeah.
So I just always say 2 p.m. ET. I take out the EPT or EST or Standard.
Yeah.
EDT. I just put PT, Pacific Time, or Eastern Time. I don't worry about it.
I used to live on both coasts, so I get confused all the time. So
It's all good.
yeah.
All right. As people gathered in every time, I know everyone wants to ask questions, and you can't ask questions live, and Doug and Taylor will screen them and we'll answer them. But before we do that here, as people join in, let's the opener talk for the Pro Football Doc podcast, Sports and News Central. Whatever interesting topics, and you know who I always liked, Taylor? I always liked Colin Cowherd.
Mm-hmm.
He would always come up with some good, interesting take as an opener. I'm certainly not Colin Cowherd, but I did tease what Dan Campbell said.
Yes, we'll lead off with that. Yeah.
Tell people what Dan Campbell said.
All right. So he was alluding to the Brian Branch play, right? So he got a penalty, right? And he was officially ruled out of the game. They called targeting, and it was called up from New York, right? So the exact quote I'll get here, Doc, was he thinks the NFL office is more likely to eject players in high-profile games. I've never heard that before being said by a coach or anything. So that's interesting. Your thoughts on that, obviously.
I'll co-sign.
Yeah.
I'll co-sign. I'm not saying it's nefarious.
Right.
And I would almost look at more transparency, because when you're calling in plays, okay, think about the logistics of doing this. And I'll give you a medical example. I agree with Dan Campbell 100%. Remember I told you I love Dan Campbell when he gave his first interview and everything. Yep. I was like, I hope this guy can be successful, because I think he's a quote machine. I love him.
You loved authenticity. Yes, exactly.
Authenticity.
Yes. Couldn't say that.
Yeah. He is real.
Yes.
I agree with him 100%. And let me give you my reasons for support. I'm trying to be Colin Cowherd here. Sorry, I'm not going to be. But number one, I think what he says has merit at the surface, and I'll tell you why based on the mechanics of all calls. Number two, I will cite you medical examples of the same thing.
All right, there you go.
Number three, that's always been my feeling. The league does a great job on the PR side, and that fits what we have here. So let's look at the mechanics. We're in the war room here, 10 a.m. Pacific time. We have 8 TVs going on. Do we get a good look at every call and every play as the afternoon games when there's 3 or 4, especially when there's clearly a number one game like Detroit, Green Bay? Do we get as good a look? No. We always get a better look on Monday Night Football tonight.
The one-offs.
Hasn't happened yet.
Right.
Or Sunday Night Football or Thursday Night Football. All eyes on one.
Mm-hmm.
How many, and I don't know the answer to this question, but I kind of know, how many people are at 345 Park Avenue making the decision to eject a player or not eject a player?
On each game, or like just the whole control center? Yeah.
So is it 8 different people if there's 8 games in the earlier slot?
I don't think so. No.
Then there'd be 8 different spotters
for each
that bring it to one guy, right? Because you want some consistency.
Right, yes, yeah.
But in the afternoon, when there's only 3 games and the eyes are on just the one big game, it comes more quickly.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think Dan Campbell is correct. But I also don't think it's nefarious and what have you. Look, we know that fines get handed down more when you rough a quarterback than, a special teams player. We've known that.
The big name players, yep. Yeah.
So number one is, I think the mechanics are, Dan Campbell is correct. More attention, right? And then let's give me the second reason. Let me give you a medical example. Dan Campbell cited it, I think. He said Brian Branch got ejected pretty quickly. the player that hit Chris Olave, did he get ejected? That player that hit Chris Olave, it was raining penalty flags like confetti after the Super Bowl. I don't know if I've ever seen 4 flags come in on the same play. And he got taken off on a spine board and to the hospital. Thankfully, he's quote okay. I'm sure
his brother said he was fine. Yeah, on Twitter. Yeah,
fine. We'll get to that one. But
right.
That was a 10 a.m. Pacific time game versus the 1 p.m. game. Did that guy get ejected? I think that hit was worse than the Brian Branch hit. Look, how many flags flew when Brian Branch hit the guy?
Like 4. Right.
Brian Branch.
The other one. Yeah, that was like
Olave. There was at least 4. It was raining flags.
The Branch one was like 1, maybe. Yeah, there's if that. I don't think. Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's something to it. Now here, let me give you the medical analogy. When Tua goes down, the 2 big times he went down were on a solo game.
Right.
Thursday Night Football. Solo game, lots of national attention, quarterback, and he postures. And everyone has called for Tua to retire. He's come back. He's played fine so far. He's still at some risk. But do you hear the same screaming about Mitch Morris?
This week he was cleared
from his 7th concussion.
Potential, yes.
Potential 7th.
Mm-hmm.
No calls for him to retire.
He's the center, right?
Are the calls for Chris Olave to retire 1/10 the calls? He's got 5 now too.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're saying that he's likely done for the season. It's at least a 1-month IR.
Can you tell me the name or the syndrome you told me earlier?
Second impact.
It
would be third impact.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks ago, he got a concussion. Last week, he got jacked, but cleared concussion.
Yeah.
This week, again, concussion, and he was unconscious.
Yes.
He's not playing for at least a month. The Saints just fired their head coach. They're 2-7. Are you really going to bring him back in 5 weeks? I think it may be season for him. My point is this. You don't hear the calls for him to retire like you hear about Tua.
Mm-hmm.
It was buried in a lot of different games. He's not a quarterback. It's the attention. So I think there is some correctness to what Dan Campbell is saying.
I wanted to add something to the Olave thing too. What are your thoughts? I remember Brady in the offseason, he talked about how quarterbacks don't potentially protect their players with some of the balls they threw. And then you saw Michael Thomas on Twitter get a little upset with Olave and how, I mean, he's friends, so I understand the worry, but he did go a little bit off on Derek Carr. Do you think that's something to that? Or, I mean, I don't know. It was just a ball in the middle of the field, right? And he got hit.
I have to study it a little more, where the coverage and where the ball should have been thrown and what have you.
Yeah.
So I'm not ready to jump in on that. I do think that Derek Carr handled it pretty well.
Yes.
By saying, look, he's entitled. I've tried to call him. He's the only one. But here's the only thing I'll say about Derek Carr. Overall, I think he handled it well. But he talked a little too long. He really cares.
Yeah.
And I'll give him credit. He cares that Michael Thomas doesn't like him.
Yes.
He does care.
He does care a lot, I think.
He tried to call him this, that, the other. But he's like, he went on and talked all about it. But look at his words. I saw the press conference. But then he goes and say, I haven't seen his comments and I won't see them because I just don't bother with things like that. Yet you just talked for 3 minutes about the comments.
You saw the comments.
Or someone at least told you about the comments.
You never actually saw. Yeah.
But whatever. Like, he cares. And that's not a bad thing. But let me tell you something else about Derek Carr's words, and I'll get back to the original story about the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Carr, I think, foreshadowed Dennis Allen's firing. What did he say? He knew Gail Benson met with players and personnel all week. Like, what's going on?
Yep.
And there must be some things going on. I like Dennis Allen, but Derek Carr said what? I'll be back for my oblique injury, but I'm not a savior.
I'm not saving the season, guys.
I'm not a savior.
Yep.
And I went off that, said, you're not a savior. He's not a savior, but he'll be a saint this week. He's playing. But yeah, I think he saw deeper problems.
He saw the tea leaves. Yep.
Now here you go. All right. So I covered how I agree with Dan Campbell just based on the mechanics,
Mm-hmm.
because it's the one main head official that's making the final ruling, and his attention isn't divided 8 or 10 ways in the afternoon.
And you said injury perspective, you also talk why it makes sense as well.
Injury perspective, it makes sense in terms of like the public attention that it gets.
Right.
And the final thing, I've always said this, and I don't mean this in a bad way. The NFL is an unbelievable PR machine. They always try to look like doing the right thing. Now, fortunately, when you look like you're doing the right thing, hopefully most of the time you are doing the right thing.
Right.
But I've always noted, including my time in the league, they're very worried about looking like they do the right thing.
And you've said that for years about that.
I've said that for years. It's not a bad thing, but it's not always
they're hyper on it though. More than
they're very, very rabbit ears about always looking like they do the right thing. It's not a bad thing, because a lot of times looking like you're doing the right thing is doing the right thing.
Right.
And so that's where they're at with all of this. And so overall, I agree with Dan Campbell in his statement. And you'll see it in the fines and or penalties versus buried in a 1 p.m. or 10 a.m. window. This 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock window games get a lot more attention. Just like if something happens on Monday Night Football tonight, there's more eyeballs on it, more of the whole.
And it doesn't matter
nation.
how big the game is. It's just like you said, the
focus,
the
focus, singular focus.
Right.
There's more. For example, Sam Darnold getting his face mask and head ripped off sparked a conversation of should face masks be reviewable. If that was during 8 games at a 10 a.m. Pacific time window, I don't think you have the same conversation. That's all.
So, Doc, real quick, we just got news on CeeDee Lamb. We can speak that. We'll just jump right in the rundown.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of big names here. CeeDee Lamb, they said is week to week. He was able to return late in the game, sporadically at the end. But your thoughts on that, and we'll jump to the bigger injury after CeeDee Lamb.
What this specifically? Excuse me. What they confirmed AC joint.
Confirmed AC joint. And they said his potential return is week to week instead of day to day.
Who said it?
One of the Cowboys beat writers.
Who are they quoting?
I can get to that. Yeah.
Hey, giving you a window to our process.
Yes,
source material.
Yes.
I need to hear who said it, how it was said, in the context of how it was said, not the reporter's interpretation of what was said.
Right.
Big difference.
All right. Before I get to that, then let's talk about Dak Prescott real quick. Then I'll get to CeeDee.
Dak Prescott, words already leaked. We said yesterday, this is a tough one. What did we say? Usually you get hamstrings when you're running. But if you get a hamstring when you're throwing the ball, especially if it's your back leg, big deal. The worry isn't can he be mobile? The worry is can he plant and throw? And we said even if he could play this week, he wouldn't be effective. And now they're saying it's even worse than that. The only chance of him playing is it really wasn't a hamstring strain or tear. It was just spasm, and it worried him. And that's a very fine needle to thread. At this point, there's no report on IR, but they're saying multiple weeks. And that would make sense. That's your plant and go, sudden concentric contraction on your hamstring. You can't drive the ball accurately down the field or to the sideline. I mean, you can do your dump offs to your cornerback and your swing passes, but you can't drive the ball. That does not bode well. And now I guess the word is kind of out. He's really not going to play against the Eagles, at least, right?
And you're worried about the mechanism. You don't usually see that kind of thing from like the throwing or the hamstring.
That's what I'm saying. A quarterback strains his hamstring back leg from plant and throw at a pass. Not good news.
All right, yeah, just it was from the team considered week to week, and there's optimism he'll play. So it's just
here we go.
There you go.
Okay.
It's just them trying to figure out something to report.
So,
you're right. Yes, yeah.
AC joint is indeed a week-to-week injury.
Right.
It will affect CeeDee Lamb for multiple weeks. Back in the day, I can say this. I got hip permission. Drew Brees had an AC joint on his left non-throwing shoulder. I wrote about it. He gave me permission to write about it when Drew Brees retired, and he had it injected basically for the rest of the season.
Say, I've heard, yes, you've told me that. Yes, yeah, that's not hidden.
Yeah, so that's not hidden. So it is a week-to-week injury. It's a multi-week injury. It's going to linger with him.
But is he week to week? No, he
No.
finished the game.
And that's what Jerry Jones even alluded to. He's like, he had optimism just because the fact that he returned to the game, like you said. So
I don't see him missing. He's a tough guy. He can get an injection.
And we didn't mention the Prescott. I didn't know if you did. It's a huge game, right? You got the Eagles, you got Dallas at home, so he needs to play, right?
Prescott's not playing.
Yeah. CeeDee Lamb, though. CeeDee Lamb needs to play, I was going to say. Yeah. 3 and 5, yeah.
I mean, quite honestly, if Dak Prescott somehow did try and play, Doug, our Green Bay guy, how did Jordan Love do? I mean, he was okay. It was a game effort, but that was not Jordan Love.
In the rain, too, obviously.
In the rain, harder. And that was a front leg groin issue, more opening up. Of course, he wasn't going to run the ball. We know that. He didn't. 3 rushes, 0 yards. We knew he wasn't going to run the ball.
Shotgun a lot of times, yeah.
Shotgun, but yeah, it's hard to play through that. And if it weren't Detroit Lions, he would not have played. Because the Detroit Lions and bye next week, he gave it a shot, so to speak. Dak Prescott, honestly, if Dak Prescott played, the line would shrink, and I think you should hammer the Eagles if that were the case. But Prescott's not playing. The line's gone up. Make your decisions. But
staying in the same game, obviously, we got a question on our chat. AJ Brown, right? He has past chronic knee issues, has bilateral knee surgery in his past. What are your thoughts and your mechanism, what you saw on AJ Brown in video?
Video wasn't great. We got it from one angle only. And quite honestly, YouTube or NFL, they had problems.
Sunday Ticket was
Sunday
a little
Ticket,
bit.
you couldn't rewind a little bit. But what we did see is an injury to the left knee, mild, not significant, not long-term, not IR worthy. Don't believe it to be surgical. It's a mild MCL sprain at best. He can run straight go routes. Cutting is a question mark. We'll have to see.
From a body type standpoint, he kind of matches a little bit like a DK Metcalf. He also has a little slight MCL. Is it kind of like, is it the same timeline, or like he needs to play for the Eagles game at the Dallas game, right?
He doesn't need to. I mean, Dallas is the one that
they're the ones
in
trouble. Yeah. It's
Eagles,
just a big game in general.
It's a big game.
Divisional.
I don't know. This is where I'd love to see more video. Maybe on the coach's film, we'll see it. The way his knee was bent, I think, is fairly mild. Was he ruled out a little bit for score 2, knowing that Cowboys were next? Maybe. That's what you would hope as an Eagles fan. I think he still got a chance to play, yes. Would not rule him out. CeeDee Lamb is playing. Dak Prescott is not. AJ Brown, I'm leaning a little bit to the good side of playing. But we'll see. Not significant. You'll take that. Go from there.
Week 10, they're already showing videos of our CMC big injury news. You've all said all along, right? First or second week of November is his best chance. We're in the first week, right? So,
well, look, what I said in September was he's not returning in October. He's not returning in December. It was going to be November. Now, I couldn't tell you whether it was early November or later November. He's tracking to be early/mid November.
Yeah. I know I got you on video saying early November, so I think I'll keep you at early.
I gotta say, no, I think you got a video saying early November.
Early to maybe you said early to mid. You might have said both.
I mean, look, you project out like that.
You can't get the exact. Yeah,
we gotta see if he has any setback as he starts to practice. But I think he has a good chance to play this week. I think where they're missing him is on third downs. And in the receiving game. Yep. I think they'll still do Jordan Mason with the run. Now he's coming off his own AC sprain.
Correct.
But Jordan Mason might be the first and second down ball carrier. And CMC might be more spot usage and or third down back.
Yeah, Jordan Mason and Deebo Samuel both had injuries before the bye with that rib. So
I don't see CMC being a 3-down back his first time back.
That's what I thought. So you think he probably will be effective, but just won't have the snaps, or maybe even a little bit less of dip effectiveness?
I mean, heck, I can't wait to put him in my Scott Fish line.
Waiting for weeks for that. Yeah, it's been a problem there. I guess we'll jump to we already talked to Olave, but just to go back to that, the Saints already down Rashid Shaheed out for the season with a meniscus tear, likely without Olave. That's going to be trouble, right, for the Saints with no receiving group. And like you said, just to rehash on Olave, there's people asking about him. You think it's a chance IR? chronic history, especially week to week, right?
Look, I find that the betting markets are really interesting. You can bet on almost anything right now. By the way, whose phone is on the table? It keeps. Is it phone? Yeah,
I'm on silent. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
No, it just because it's a wood table.
Yeah, you're good. We feel the verb. Yeah,
and it sounds in here. But anyways, you can bet almost. I mean, I'm amazed at like how you can bet legally in California on who's going to win the election.
I was about to say, bring
tomorrow.
that up because it's crazy how you can bet on.
It's crazy
election.
what you can bet on.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying is, if you guys see out there a marketplace where you can bet not on injuries, I don't want to bet like this guy's hurt or not hurt, but if there's a place to say that this guy's playing this week or not this week, or Olave, if there's a place that you can bet on injured reserve or not, I can't get down enough on injured reserve.
That's what I would love that betting market, because you said the same thing about Tua before it was even IR mentioned too. So that's something like, we would love that market for our
I don't
site,
think
right?
it exists.
Drake London, I'll stay in that game. Atlanta versus the Saints.
Confirmed hip pointer.
Correct.
We said it during the game. Not long-term, not surgical, but can be very sore. This week, certainly in question to say doubtful side, unless he walks in feeling good today. Usually you get more sore from a hip pointer before you get less sore from a hip pointer.
I want to talk about Caleb Williams. We have our hangnail theory, right? Any name, right? He suffered an injury like the second to last play of the game. Now, Everflu said ankle injury. What are your thoughts you saw on the video?
Why do you got to go hangnail with Caleb?
I know it was
just because he paints his nails.
I guess I didn't even think of that. That's good. I was just you know what I mean. Just any name that people care about.
Look, poor Matt Eberflus got a lot of shit. Why do you still have him in the game? Da, 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 da. I don't love his answer for development.
That's not a great answer.
I don't love that one.
Yeah.
But he's hurt. He's not injured. Okay, it's the game of football. And let me say this again. Just because it was last game and he limped a little bit because he's your star, what about the other poor players that are all out there? He's hurt, not injured. If you think a team has 4, 5, 6 athletic trainers and physical therapists and 3 doctors travel away, and that injury list is 5 people, it's not one-on-one. Okay.
Right.
I mean, it's week 10 now, almost done. Week 9, one game left. That list is long. Over half the team is in the training room day in, day out. And no, it's legal that they don't have to list them all on the injury report. I don't even see Caleb being on the injury report unless, once again, Dan Campbell theory, it's a quarterback, and now you have to list them just in case. Because they're eyeballs on it, right? Name, the answer to this. If you don't think the NFL is worried about profile, do you ever have to indicate the side of an injury?
Only the quarterback and their arm.
Yes.
Yep.
If it's an upper extremity injury, you have to say right hand or left hand, or right shoulder or left shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Every other injury is just knee, questionable. That's it.
So Prescott, in theory, this week he had a little bit of swollen hand. Should his hand pop up? I know they're going to eventually rule him out, but he'll be on the report still. So is it hand/hamstring?
And they'll have to say right hand.
Yes, exactly. That's just
And by the way, the hand is nothing. I don't know if you can see, but the back of your hand swells very easily. It can look very grotesque, but it does nothing for your grip and to be able to spin the ball. He got a small abrasion cut, and the back of his hand was swollen. Once again, who cares? Football. That isn't the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that had nothing to do with the hamstring.
Jerry Jones even mentioned
his hand's fine.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about the Rams wide receiver group a little bit. We had questions on them. First, Puka suffered. He banged up his knee. We always were low on him. We saw initial video in training camp where he banged his knee. That's what every time you hear bang knee with the PCL, we're getting worried, right? Because he really is not 100% with it. We had a season future on that. We're doing good on that. I have a question about Kupp, though. There's a lot of routes they're seeing that he's not completely going downfield. Do you think personally that he's not 100%, that they've kind of rushed him out a little bit just to get this, get their season back on track? Or
Kupp might not be 100%.
Yeah.
It was like, come on, we got to win this game. Yeah. Otherwise I'm going to get traded.
And they won 3 in a row now. Yeah.
Now they're in the thick of it, right? Yeah. They're doing well. Puka's still not 100%. I mean, maybe exhibit D on Dan Campbell is Puka. If that's buried in 10 a.m. or early games, does he get ejected?
I don't think so.
That was.
It didn't even look like much, right? Like,
I mean, he shouldn't do it. I
Yeah.
get the intent of the rule, but it wasn't that egregious, was
Right.
it? It was almost a push punch. Not
yeah,
a,
it didn't look like a full. Yeah, he cocked back fully. Yeah,
I mean,
I
if
totally
he
agree.
really connected, he wouldn't have broken his hand.
Yeah.
I mean,
he would have banged up knee and hand. Yeah.
yeah.
Going on to that, let's jump to Thursday game real quick. T. Higgins situation is a little weird, right? Because like he's missed he had that Friday injury. He's the second time this year he's had a Friday, so he's been missing like a lot more games than normal because it's so late in the week. Your thoughts that he can come and return for this Thursday game against the Ravens?
Well, obviously I'm not examining him, and Zach Taylor's already said we'll see. If it weren't Baltimore, I don't think he plays.
Okay.
But because it is Baltimore, I think he's trying. That's why he wasn't going to play this Sunday with the Sunday-Thursday turnaround. Look, Bengals, all hands on deck. This is the game they have to have. If they win this game, they get a split with Baltimore, and they remain alive in the division.
It'll be a game behind them. Yeah, it could be 6-5, 5-5.
Of course, they're still Pittsburgh, but they'll remain alive.
Very
They
true,
lose this game. They forever lose the tiebreaker to the Ravens, and they're down 3.
It's a massive.
They're not going to catch them.
Yeah.
And Joe Burrow was not mad at the team necessarily. Like, why wasn't he happy during the game and post game? You're beating the Raiders handily. He's not happy because he's saying, guys, this is not good enough to beat Baltimore.
Yep. Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
He's saying all hands on deck. We need to win Thursday. This is not good enough to beat Baltimore. It's good enough to beat the Raiders, but let's not celebrate that. This is not good enough to beat Baltimore. I think it's good leadership.
Schefter just tweeted, I want to say he was listening to our podcast because we have a revamped CeeDee Lamb thing now, which is what maybe. So what we have here has a sprained AC joint per source. Oh, Lamb's shoulder is sore. The injury is not considered serious, and he's expected to have a chance to play against the Eagles. So there you go. That's more source material one from the source, I guess. Yeah.
I love Adam Schefter. Yes, it's no secret that we have communicated in the past, but no, I did not communicate that to Adam.
No, I was just making a joke. Yeah.
But I got a shout out to Adam. I love Adam. Like, was it last week before he retweeted some stuff?
Last week, yes. Yeah.
I mean, Adam's awesome. Love him. He gives people credit. He's a super nice guy, very much of a gentleman. But the man has sources. He don't need me.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. I have 3 players I want to go through. They were 3-6 scores we had this season. We'll start off with a potential the first game of the year, Jonathan Brooks, ACL tear in college at Texas in November last year. Always worried about just the recovery, but the jump and play. Now he has a chance to return week 10. They've been open the window the last couple of weeks. So
how many days into his practice window?
This is it's been ruled out last couple, so it's already been past that.
He gets activated because they're not going to not activate him, because if they don't before the 21-day window, he's out for the season.
Correct. Yep.
They're using this back half of this year as some development for him. But if you're a fantasy guy waiting for the explosion, I don't know that it's here yet.
Yeah, I remember the props came out. There wasn't really a yardage one, but there was even a touchdown one. You were like, do both. We just weren't confident, his ability, so.
No, he's, it's possible he gets some touchdowns. He gets the ball in the one a couple times. It's possible, but you can't judge Brooks by this year. You got to judge him next year.
So then the next one, I'm glad that he's finally taking the reins of the running back room, but Nick Chubb, we have his prop last 3 weeks. 2 out of 3 weeks he's finished under his prop. You've noticed him a little bit. He's getting his carries. It's just it's under 3 yards a carry. It just looks like a struggle, right?
I think he's doing great for what he had.
Yeah, right.
But okay, let's be fair. What percent of old Nick Chubb is this Nick Chubb?
I mean, he's 15 for 39 yesterday. 15 last couple of years, he'd have 100 yards. So I mean, that's 60% right there.
Yeah, he's not Nick Chubb.
Right.
He's a bona fide NFL running back. He's made a great recovery. He's not Nick Chubb. I mean, ultimately, I think it'd be fantastic if he could get back to be 85% of Nick Chubb. I don't think he's even that right now, but kudos to him on his comeback, faster than we had thought.
And then J.K. Dobbins last year, we also said the same thing. We were just worried about him. And looks like even him, he's having a good year this year. But yeah, we were worried a couple years ago.
Good
with his
year
stuff.
based on usage, I think.
Yes, correct. Because Gus has been on IR with his ankle, a hamstring, I believe. Next one I have here, Doc, is the third guy, TJ Hockenson. He did finally return from Minnesota. He had the ACL plus he had an MCL as well, tear. 3 catches for 27 yards. One was a 19-yard catch. First game back, right? It's going to be hard. Yeah,
he did fine.
Yeah,
but recovery is not a light switch.
Yep.
It's not, oh, he's back and he's 100%. He'll have his up and downs and he'll trend better and better. And, you know, the Vikings are in a good spot that they might have a closer to fully healthy Hockenson for postseason. And that's what they want at this point in time.
And that was a callback to, because remember, we were on the fantasy. We have a big fans podcast every year with Evan Silva. And he would remember we were told him he wouldn't even rank him in his top 150 players, right? Just on how, you know, our thoughts on TJ Hockenson. I had a question just to call back from to CMC. Do you think there's any risk of re-injury for when he returns?
First of all, I'm a little intrigued with your callback term.
Well, because you said it two weeks ago, and it's in my head. I've been using it at home
like
now.
3 times now. Callback. I feel so technical in the industry. CMC re-injury, you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, Achilles tendonitis is tricky. It is on both sides. Just hope for the best.
Like you said, they're not going to use just one running back. They'll do 1A, 1B for a little bit, right? They've done it for years too as well. So
San Francisco wants CMC to help them potentially win a Super Bowl. They're not looking for CMC to help them win some regular season games.
Right.
They're going to play the long game here, right? I mean, that's what they really want him for.
All right, one last one, Doc. It was an interesting one. It was a last inactive for the Bills. They have a couple wide receiver issues. One is they're both wrists. One, Amari Cooper. He was LP all week, questionable, and then he was inactive. Your thoughts on what you said? He's not really 100% part of the game plan yet, right? So,
yeah, you mean
what kind of wrist injury would make? Yeah, what kind of wrist injury would make him maybe miss the game?
Well, I mean, you do catch with your hands.
You do. You're right.
So if he's got a heavily tape or a cast or splint or something, that makes it a lot harder. I don't know. I mean, we don't know exactly what kind of wrist injury he has. I thought there was some video. Was it more of a contusion? So swelling and pain. I don't think he's far out. But once again, Buffalo's like, as long as we have him for
right
December and January, we're good, right?
Their rookie wide receiver also suffered a wrist injury this week. He was seen with a brace. We didn't get we don't have an official word on what kind of injury it is, but we'll obviously monitor his report. But that could be interesting. You know, 2 of their top receivers dealing with wrist injuries. One running back that potentially is coming back in a couple weeks is Isiah Pacheco. It's a week 12, week 13 potential chance. Is that the same thing with CMC? We just want him for the long term. They're not worried about. They have Kareem Hunt for now.
A little bit. I mean, Chiefs have made some good moves, DeAndre Hopkins and adding people, but there's still more moves to be made. The trade deadline Tuesday. I mean, big targets. I mean, Detroit needs a pass rusher. Who's going there?
Not Crosby, I hope, from a Raiders fan perspective, but I've heard his name.
I think that one's tough to trade.
To move,
I mean, I guess I don't understand the trading market well enough. I mean, you trade a guy on an expiring contract and you flip a 5th and 6th round pick, and that's good enough.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Obviously that's why I'm not a GM, but in any case, yeah, I think there's some moves to be made. Who are they saying?
Zadarius Smith is a top option for the Lions, which would be helpful for the Browns.
Zadarius Smith, the Lions.
Yeah. That'd be good. Yeah.
That's realistic. And then Marshawn Lattimore, his hamstring will get better as soon as he's traded. Devontae Adams.
You're right. That's funny. You're correct on that. Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's dogging it now. I'm just saying why. The coach just got fired, this, that, the other. But if he gets traded, he'll pass the physical.
Yep. All right, Doc, I have nothing much else. Just to promote our SIC picks, we're going to have another guaranteed pick this week. We are officially 4-0 this year on our guaranteed picks. College football has been doing very well, almost 60%. 8 out of the 10 weeks have been winning weeks.
Well, the guaranteed picks, it's kind of fun. That one popped up late week, Atlanta. That was a nice one. No sweat. guaranteed pick.
Mhm.
Doug was saying what? The 3-star and 2-star plays are at 66%.
Yes, combined. Yes. Yeah.
Overall, it's 59, which is, I think, still pretty good, but 66 is just like, oof,
Yeah.
not really.
People say it's not sustainable.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But, here's the thing. Like, I don't have time. Nobody has time. If you're like a big NFL guy, maybe you want some help with college, right? Or
Hockey,
NBA or hockey.
yeah.
Who knows? So it's not all just about NFL, and have fun with it all. You forgot Beast of the Week.
Did you have a mention? I know you do. If you don't, yeah. What is your?
I mean, can we give the obvious choice?
What is I don't even know the obvious choice, to be honest.
Are you kidding me?
What is it?
Blind hop backwards.
Oh, yes, the Saquon Barkley play. Yes, I agree. Yes. Sirianni said it was the best play he's ever seen in his life. That was a great play.
How do you practice that? I want to ask him. Like, do you practice that? What do you do?
I don't think you can practice that. That's just like in your brain. Each move, because you have the spin move.
Look, I know tennis players have often hit balls between legs, and they do practice that.
They do practice
when
that,
they're messing around. How do you practice that?
Because you don't even know when you're going to be the back turned, and then you're thinking about just jumping.
But how do you time that?
Yeah.
How do you see the guy? How do you know that? And here's the other thing: when you do leave your feet, you have the potential to look very silly because the other guy doesn't go down low. You grab you can throw you on your head legally. Yep. I mean, and dump you.
You're stuck in the air. Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it before, and Doug are Aussie rules, right?
Pick you up and
you're
throw
up
you
in
down.
the air, and you get dumped.
Don't leave your feet. Yeah.
And he missed it. It was like it's like bullfighter. I mean, he laid him. He did a 360 spin, turn, look, and then just jumped up and
I don't even think we could do that on a video game. That was, like you said, that's just like thought split second. This is what I'm going to do. And like you said, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I don't like the practice. That's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, I'm feeling my groin and hamstring. Like I might've been hurt watching that thing, I was just like, what is up with that? So yeah, he's got to get the Beast of the Week, Saquon there. That'll be interesting. Be interesting time this week. Philly against the Cowboys. I guess the attention is now, we don't have Dak. Otherwise, the attention would be Jerry Jones. They got a running back. Why didn't we?
Yeah.
But now the attention is Dak Prescott.
They really do need. What are your thoughts on the Ezekiel Elliott? Is that like a kid that like I've been here for years, I can do whatever I want, or is it someone that's just not heads in the game? It just feels very interesting, and he hasn't really been involved much this year too. So it's just
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think Jerry's taking care of him over time. Gotten him contracts, gotten
for sure.
I don't know what's going on in that relationship, but it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Last one I want to talk about. I know we talked a little bit. Was we were saying that Joe Burrow was so upset. There's just so much social media stuff going on with the wide receiver Jermaine Burton situation. He was undrafted. He had or he was going to be undrafted. He was a lower pick. He was going to be higher. He's had some past issues at Alabama and Georgia off the field. So this week, they had no T. Higgins. So they were they were talking about very much, and like all the coaches are like, oh, he's really good. We're happy for him. He's gonna, we're waiting for him to break out. And behind the scenes, apparently, they had a lot of packages and a lot of offensive packages were solely for him. And on Saturday, he no-showed the walkthrough. So they apparently scrapped the whole offensive game plan and had to do something from scratch. So that was why Burrow was walking around like a madman on the sidelines. But just from your perspective, from like a personnel guy, how would you approach that? How would you deal with that behind the scenes?
Depends on why you missed.
Yeah.
I mean, is it daylight savings time or whatever? And his alarm didn't go off. Usually it's in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Was there miscommunication?
Because it seems like a lot of players are like worried for him, like, oh, we just want to make sure there's the best for him, and
that's what I mean. I don't know that there's enough information as to why he missed. I think, but let me tell you, I mean, it was a home game for them, but I mean, attendance is taken on the road at home. Security teams travel minimum 4 security guards for road games, and they're there to take attendance to make sure someone went to breakfast, went to lunch, checked in at whatever the walkthrough, and literally when the buses roll out to the walkthrough practice, and I get this was a home game, they have a head count of who's on and who's not.
Right,
I mean, there's It's a professional organization. So here's what happens, and this is an away situation. If the guy's on the bus about to roll, you're calling his cell phone, you're sending someone up to his room. One of the team operatives has a master key to get into any room. And like, hey, what are you doing? Where are you? Look, we got to go. You're asking your position group, where have you seen him last, et cetera. Now, this was a home game, so it's a little different.
Right.
But before we say whatever, how you handle it, you got to figure out why. What happened? What happened? Did something happen to the guy? Or maybe a family member, maybe something. Who knows? Before you condemn him, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think the reason why is important.
Yes. All right, Doc. Let's just wrap it up. Make sure everybody goes to the site. Basketball, big injuries are happening. We'll have content throughout the year. Football as well, Doc. And
well, I hope you guys like this live format. Any other questions? I think we've covered most of them, Doug. The podcast is still on all the other places, but now that we end the broadcast, I guess you can rewind and listen to the stuff before on X.
Absolutely. Yep.
Streaming, YouTube, and all the places, and smash the subscribe or review. That's what the cool kids say. Oh yeah, I'll tell you something. My kids found out, Dad, you have a YouTube channel? They were very impressed.
I have the family watching it too now. Yeah.
They're very impressed.
Yeah.
Like they didn't care what was on it. It was just the fact that I quote.
You're live now, Doc. Yeah, that's big for them to tell their friends, So Instagram live, everything.
Well, Davis, who's now 12, apparently there's a rumor at a school that some of his friends who do fantasy football said, oh, your dad's on YouTube. That's how they found out. Your dad's on YouTube. He's like, really?
Oh, so they're getting told from their friends. That's even bigger. Yeah, we don't need to do anything. There you go. Now you're famous, Doc. Yeah. We had a quick question from one of the channels I didn't get to. Real quick, Will Levis and just his shoulder injury. What are your thoughts on that? And we've all said all along, right?
Coaching decision.
Yes.
He's fine to play. He could have played before. Is he 100%? He's probably getting very close. He's probably getting very close to being off the injury report. It's been a coaching decision.
Why are they ruling him out? Why wouldn't they just keep him as the backup? Is it just to let Rudolph, let him know, you don't need to worry about someone coming in, or?
Maybe. Who's the other quarterback?
Trevor Siemian, who's a veteran. Oh, yeah. He's fine. Yeah. So, I mean, they're not hurting themselves by not,
let me tell you why. I would say Will Levis has had his struggles. He hasn't played 17 games in the NFL yet. So he's still basically a rookie. If the shit hits the fan or Mason Rudolph gets injured, do you want Will Levis or Trevor Siemian?
He wants
you to play Will Levis. You got to give him a fair shot.
Right.
You got to give him a week of practice and give him a fair shot.
You can't walk him into the crap.
You'd rather have Trevor Siemian. And it's not offense to Will Levis. It's just you're still trying to develop this guy. You don't want his confidence shot again coming in, not fully game planned up and ready and seeing all the looks from the practice squad and the scout team looks and what have you. It's probably not fair.
Yeah. Last second up, just to wrap this up, we're getting breaking news always, right? Schefter did say they will consider placing Dak IR. So thoughts on that? Yeah. You kind of mentioned that a little bit, right? If it's severe enough.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I'll make this prediction.
Yeah.
If Dak goes on IR, this means this is closer to a 6-week injury than a 4-week injury. You're not putting Dak Prescott on IR if you think it's just 4 weeks.
Okay. Because you get a chance to return early. Yeah.
What happens if he's
so he's ready
a week earlier, right? And that would really be bad.
And with
practice squad call-ups and roster flexibility and what have you, there's a more chance to do that now. Look, if you put someone on IR and it turns out they could have played that 4th game, that is bad decision making. You only do that if you
are certain that he's going to miss those 4.
And certain meaning there's no way he's back in 4 weeks. It's got to be 6. Then they'll put him on IR. So we'll see. That would be a bad sign if he's on IR.
All right, Doc. Yeah, that's all I got for you. Got all wrapped our questions up. Like and subscribe, like you said, right?
All right, sounds good.
Yep.
Thanks for watching Pro Football Doc Sports Injury Central podcast. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.